All right, I'd like to call to order the Bowling Green Board of Commissioners for their special meeting on August 18th, 2020. I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown.
Here.
Denning.
Here.
Nash.
Here.
Perigin.
Here.
Wilkerson is here. The first item is approval of minutes for the special meeting. I think I said this meeting was August 18th. I read the approval of the minutes. This meeting is on September 1st, 2020. So I need approval of the minutes for the special meeting on August 18th, 2020. Motion by Wilkerson and second by Perigin. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. The first item is Municipal Order 2020-134. Municipal Order approving the reappointments of Dr. Gary Burst and Bo Wilkins to the Bowling Green Community Tree Advisory Board. Motion by Wilkerson, second by Perigin. This is a reappointment of two members that have helped us keep the Tree City USA designation, and they're willing to be reappointed. Are there any comments or questions? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown.
Yes.
Denning.
Yes.
Nash.
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. Municipal Order 2020-135. Municipal Order authorizing and approving a contract extension for demolition and sinkhole repair services related to bid 2020-10 from Scott and Ritter Incorporated of Bowling Green, Kentucky, in the amount not to exceed $130,000. Motion by Wilkerson, second by Perigin. Mr. Meisel.
About this time last year, you all approved a contract with Scott and Ritter for any of the city's demolition and sinkhole repair work for any dangerous or blighted structures, repairing sinkholes as they develop. And with that bid, we had the option to renew 2 additional years. We're coming to you today recommending that we renew that for the second year at the same price. $30,000 for cleanup and demolition and $100,000 for any sinkhole work up to that amount. It's on a unit cost basis, and we are recommending that we go ahead and renew with Scott and Ritter for that contract.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? Joe, you had your hand up first.
Yes, sir. Jeff, when you talk about demolition, what are you talking about?
If we were ever to have to demo property that we have, such as the property we bought up along the river, someday there'll be an occasion where we need a property or a structure demoed that we purchase for parkland or whatever, that sort of thing.
Okay.
Property
Thank you.
own.
Thank you.
Slim?
Yeah, what was the closest bid in the last round? If that was in there, I overlooked it and I apologize.
I do not have that either, Slim. I apologize too.
Okay. It's not going to keep me from approving today, voting in favor today, but I would like to know what that is. If somebody could email it to me, please.
Ashley, can you follow up with that? I will.
Are there any other comments or questions?
We may not spend the whole 30,000, and we may not spend the whole 100,000.
Could you just let you know you're freezing up a little bit?
Can you give me just 5 seconds and let me switch over? Hang on.
He gone.
Is that it? Is that any better?
It was that time, yes, sir.
Okay.
All right, are there any other comments or questions?
Just
call
one
for-
other, Mayor.
All right, go ahead.
I guess the reason I asked the question was, this has nothing to do with Brett Childress having to demo property or anything. That's a separate contract with a separate contractor.
I believe so. Well, no, we would use this contract for any demoing that NCS needs done when that occurs.
Okay, that's what I was getting at. But is Larkin gonna do several contracts, demos for the 30,000, or is that the maximum that can be spent on demo?
It's the maximum that we have budgeted that we would spend. So there would be several.
It would be a per lot demo, per structure demo that will come out of the 30,000.
There's a per unit charge. Katie?
Yes, to answer Commissioner Nash's question, TPM was the other bidder. There were only two bidders the last go round. So Scott and Ritter is getting this bid, but TPM was the other bidder. It was based on unit prices. So it's a unit price per the pieces of equipment that are needed for what that job is. And it's similar equipment used for demolition and for a sinkhole repair. So that's why those two projects or two types of services are put together in the one bid.
Well,
Do you have the price on that, the total price on that, Katie? I realize it was TPM, but is there a number-to-number comparison as to why we wouldn't, to justify why we wouldn't bid it out again?
It was an evaluated bid. Ritter received 100 points above TPM on the evaluation. And I'm looking to see, there were several pieces of equipment that were bid. So they're all based on unit price. I'm trying to see if I can get something that's a little bit more informative here. Sorry, I'm gonna have to tilt my head. This is sideways on here. Go ahead, Jeff.
Brent Childers did say that we do use this on code enforcement issues too, and when we would have to demolish something if it came to that. So that this would be included for that too.
An example of some of the units that were bid. So we had an excavator, an operator. We had at different weight. So 22,000 pounds minimum, and then 43,000 pounds minimum, 8,000 pounds minimum. We had a tandem axle dump truck, unit price, a single axle dump truck, a mobile and manufactured home demolition, I'm guessing by square footage, unit price less than or equal to a 500 square foot in a lump sum. There was asphalt concrete parking lot, square footage for demo, structures greater than 500 square feet, backhoe and operator at 13,000 pounds, bulldozer and operator at 14,000 pounds, skid steer and operator at 7,000 pounds. So there's several items, that's not even half of them, and they were all bid based on a unit price. We can certainly resend that information to you. It was with the original bid from 2019, so we can send that information back out to you so you've got that documentation.
I'd like to see it. Again, I don't think it's going to prevent me from voting in favor today. I just wondered if there was a easily dollar amount that can be compared, and it doesn't sound like there is because it was bid in pieces, and it was also an evaluated bid. If you would send that to me after today's meeting so I could look at it, that'd be great.
We'll do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes?
Perigin,
yes,
Wilkerson is yes. Next is municipal order 2020-136. Municipal order authorizing and accepting bid 2021-01 for Roland Bland Park inclusive playground equipment from Play Pros of Indiana and Kentucky of Kokomo, Indiana, in the amount of $360,671. Motion by Wilkerson and second by Perigin. Mr. Mizel.
This is a project we've had in the budget since FY19 for an all-inclusive playground at Roland Bland Park. We have gone out to bid, Brent and his staff, and received several bids on this project. This would be in addition to the Roland Bland Park that's down there around the skate park and tennis courts and basketball courts. And as you recall, we got a $75,000 grant from the Kentucky Crumb Rubber Tire grant. And so we're putting that toward this cost of $367,671, which will net out to about $285,271. And this was an evaluated bid. The grant did require a 25% match, but we're using the in-house or the in-kind services to make up for that grant match. But anyway, it's an evaluated bid. 50% was for components and 50% for cost. And in the end, Parks and Rec is recommending the Play Pros to do this project, install the surfacing. It's about a 9,000 square foot area that they're going to do. There's a picture of it in your packets. You'll have to try to ignore the first and the last canopy that we've got X's on. Those were taken off to save some money. But this would run all the way up to the existing tennis courts, and it's going to be a nice addition to Roland Bland Park. It could be used for any toddlers all the way up to seniors, and really going to be a nice addition with the surface where a wheelchair or anything like that could maneuver on the surface, much like we did with the outdoor workout center out at Preston Miller. So Brent did a nice job with this. I know it's the cost is a little bit eye-catching, but again, we're going to offset that cost with the $75,000 grant to keep that down, and everything should be within budget for this project. I'll try to answer any questions you might have.
Are there any comments or questions, Dana?
I think Joe had his hand up first, so I'm okay with deferring to him.
I'll yield to Dana Beasley Brown.
Well, I just wanted to say how excited I am about this project being in education. I just know some of the kids who are going to use this, and just to imagine the smiles on their faces. Oh, my cat's trying to get me off this meeting here. Sorry. Just to see the smiles on their faces and getting to use this with their friends and their siblings, and that we found a way to really make our parks accessible to all of our kids in all these different age groups. I'm just so excited and thrilled that our Parks Department is really thinking about how all kids can really enjoy our facilities. So I just wanted to say a big thank you.
Joe?
Yes, first of all, I concur with what Dana said. Roland Bland Park, for those that don't know, was moved from over where the medical center emergency room is at right now. It was moved from there to the present location. My other question is, I know this was an evaluated bid, but even with that, can we not get in the future what the other bidders' prices were? I just love to see, you know, we got Mid-States Recreation, Poor Cat Inc. I'd love to see what they bid.
There should
With an evaluated bid in the future?
There should be a page behind that, Commissioner Denning, that shows a breakdown of the bid comparisons. It's the spreadsheet, and there's an orange line to the prices there. You see that?
I see that. Yeah, I see that. But for those of us who wear glasses, it would be easier if we had it up in the square here under their names and their locations. In other words, just transfer that amount that's in the spreadsheet up to where it's easy for us to see what each individual company bid.
Okay,
Am
we
I
can.
asking too much?
Okay,
Asking too much?
Katie can look into that, right, Katie?
Yes, one page is for public consumption, the other is not. So that's why you're getting a separate sheet that gives you prices. Because it's an evaluated bid, we're not releasing those amounts at this time.
We can try to make the font bigger though for you.
Do that for sure. I think
Well,
Marilyn
no-
was just trying to get it all on one page.
Ask another question. Why are we holding these prices that the company has already bid on and has submitted to us? Why are they not public information?
They will become public information after the board makes its decision.
Oh, okay. I was confused there, as I am a lot. Thank you, Mayor.
All right, anything else? I'll call the roll. Easley Brown,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes,
Nash. Okay, we lost Slim.
where are you, Slim?
I lost Ashley.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Okay, did
Slim, yes.
he text you or anything? Okay. Okay, now get the notice that he left the conference. Joe, you talk?
Technical.
Huh?
A technical situation?
I don't know, maybe he's mad at me, I don't know.
No, he's not mad at you. Let's hold for a few minutes. There you go.
Thank you for your patience.
Yeah, you're up, Slim, yes or no?
Yes.
Perigin,
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. Next is the first reading of ordinance BG 2020-25, ordinance relating to classification pay schedule, ordinance amending the classification pay schedule G for general classified employees and F for fire of the city of Bowling Green for fiscal year 2021. Motion by Wilkerson, second by Perigin. Mr. Mizel.
Before I hand this off to Aaron, just real quick, we had a retirement in the IT department. I'd like to thank Steve Milam for all of his years of service that he gave to the city, making things work behind the scenes, keeping things running. So thanks to Steve Milam for his years. He retired as of yesterday, much like Gene. So He'll be missed, but anytime we have a retirement, we do not automatically just jump right back in the pond and refill. We like to take a look at things, see whether or not we need to tweak some things, move some things around in the basket. And so that's what we've done here with IT. And I'm going to let Aaron tell you about the savings that we've come up with. And Aaron, you want to take it from here?
Sure. So we've done this a couple of times over the past couple of years pretty successfully. And we will be taking Steve was at a grade of 128 and he was at the higher end since he'd been with us for such a long time. And so our CIO, Lynn Hartley, believes that there could be some possible talent from within our IT department that might be interested in moving into that role. Obviously, they're not going to be at the level that Steve Milam was. And so, but he still wants to open kind of that entry level infrastructure, we call him systems engineer position. So we wanted to bring that in at a 124. Earlier this year in the budget season, Lynn actually approached this. He knew that this was pending and on the horizon, and we decided that we really just wanted to wait until the retirement came to do the reorganization. And so what he actually requested at that time was to align the two functions, which is the engineers and the analysts, to be in the same pay grades. Until now, the engineers have been paid slightly higher. He believes that while that may work in some organizations, it's not necessary in ours. Our analysts and our engineers both serve a very important purpose. So this basically creates an entry-level systems analyst and systems engineer position in grade 124 at intermediate level in 126, and then creates that senior level, a 3 of both a systems analyst and a systems engineer in 128. Anyone in the 3 levels right now, but it does give our employees, the knowledge that if they get certifications, if they get experience, they're going to have opportunities to learn and grow potentially into those positions. So we're going to leave it on the pay scale for now. Just know that it's not, they're currently vacant positions. So that's what we're recommending on the IT side, and the savings in the memo you can see is around $41,000. So this would be upgrading a couple of systems analysts that are currently in a 122 to a 124, and then we'll look to refill Steve's position at a 124, hopefully with some internal talent. Do you have a question?
Any other comments or questions?
Yes.
Joe?
Aaron and Jeff, when we have employees to leave, especially retiring, because if we fire somebody, they don't want to talk to us. They want to go on and get out the door, as well as we want them to get out the door. But in the case of retirees, do we have an exit interview policy?
Sir, we do.
I didn't hear you.
Yes, we do have exit interviews.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, any other comments or questions? I'll call the roll. Daisley Brown?
Yes. Fire on the same one.
I'm sorry?
Is the fire on the same one?
Yes.
Okay, why don't I take a minute? Just the fire is pretty straightforward. No money changing, no changing in grades. It's modernizing some titles. That's pretty much it.
Understand.
Okay.
Dana, are you okay to change your vote now? Denning?
Yes.
Nash?
Yes?
Perigin?
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. That's a first reading, so it'll come up next time for final approval. Next is Municipal Order 2020-137. Municipal order approving a police assistance agreement between Western Kentucky University and the City of Bowling Green. Motion by Wilkerson and second by Perigin. Mr. Mizel.
As you all know, we have a really good relationship with WKU and Chief Walker. And we've been doing this for a long time, but we thought, you know, with the change in personnel from time to time, it would be good to get some things in writing. And so before you today is kind of just a memorandum or an agreement that we struck with WKU. And I'd like to thank Hillary and Delaney for working on this. But basically, both parties are agreeing to assist each other. WKU is specifically interested in any kind of critical incidents that they may need BGPD assistance on. And then WKU's police also offer assistance to us with patrolling certain areas of town. And so in your packets or the next page would be the map of their campus that they're agreeing to, you know, cover unless they call us in for serious incidents. But they're also helping patrol WKU Farm, that's noted down below the map, Lost River Cave, and the Center for Research and Development. So again, Chief Delaney and Hillary worked on this, and I'll hand it off to them to answer any questions that y'all might have. Or Chief, do you have any comments?
Just that we've had a great relationship, like you expressed, with WKU. In the past few months, they've helped out with some things during COVID. We've had a call out where they called out people to help us with securing a perimeter. They've had people on overtime that they paid to come in and help us. They've provided buildings up on campus during COVID so we could train. Our facilities wouldn't allow us to have the training we had scheduled for the critical incident training, so they've provided buildings at no charge. They've just been a great partner throughout the years.
Chief, and what's the chief's name at WKU?
Chief Mitch Walker.
Mitch Walker. That name sounds familiar. Didn't you train him?
He was here when I started, but I trained him.
Just kidding. Mitch is a great guy. Any comments, Joe?
Yes, sir. I just want to add to that Chief Walker is from Cumberland County, the city of Burkesville, and from Pea Ridge, which is in Cumberland County.
Anything else?
I am so sorry that I got disconnected and missed that from Commissioner Denning. Anyway, proceed.
I've already said it, Commissioner Nash. You want me to say it?
No,
Say it
go
again?
ahead. Go ahead. I got it.
Okay, my friend Mitch Walker is from Cumberland County,
Where's my mute button when I need it?
city of Burkesville. Chief Delaney knows, from the Pea Ridge community. Now, I have another story pertaining to Pea Ridge that I cannot talk about on this media.
Thank you, sir.
You.
It's time to vote. Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin,
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. Next is Municipal Order 2020-138. Municipal order authorizing subrecipient agreements between the City of Bowling Green and Bowling Green Warren County Welfare Center and Barren River Area Safe Space for Community Development Block Grant Coronavirus Funding. Motion by Wilkerson and second by Perigin. Mr. Mizel.
As you all know, several weeks ago, you all approved the award of the CDBG coronavirus money that came in roughly $393,000. And we approved to give $60,000 to the Welfare Center and $333,000 to Brass, or Together BG, All this is just a follow-up approving sub-recipient agreements that are required to give this money over to them. So this is just a follow-up procedural type item that we just need your approval on.
Any comments or questions? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Ash,
Yes.
Perigin.
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. Okay, the next item has been requested to move to the next meeting, so we'll go to the first reading of ordinance BG 2020-27, an ordinance relating to property tax rates, ordinance setting 2020 property tax rates, franchise tax rates, and improvement assessment rates, and setting forth guidelines for payment, penalty, and interest. Motion by Wilkerson, second by Perigin. Mr. Mizel.
I'd like to thank Katie and her staff for working on this. As you know, she did the public hearing last week, and everything went smoothly as far as I know, no issues. And I'm going to turn this over to Katie. Katie can give you a quick overview of what we're looking at here.
So I did do a public hearing on August 26th at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we were required to have that public hearing because our recommended property tax rate falls in between the compensating tax rate and the 4% growth tax rate. So when the property valuation office, PVA's office, submitted us the assessments for the 2020 calendar year, we go through a calculation process by state statute. We have to come up with what is the compensating tax rate, which means basically a no growth property tax rate. So if we wanted to keep our revenues equivalent to the previous calendar year, then that would be the rate that we would use. In this case, it was 20.1 cents per $100 of assessed value. If we were to take a 4% tax rate growth tax rate, which we're allowed to do by statute, again, we can do that up to 4% without any referendum potential. Anything above 4% could go on a ballot by referendum if there's a petition. That rate came in at 20.9 cents per $100 of assessed value. The PVA's office reported existing property growth of 1.8% and new property growth of 4.7%, resulting in a total growth of 6.5% compared to last January's assessments. And again, the 4% tax rate is based on the fact that we only had 1.8% in existing property tax growth. We could go up to the 4%. But my recommendation is to just maintain our existing property tax rate, so the same tax rate we had in 2019, which is 20.5 cents per $100 of assessment. It falls right in between the compensating rate and the 4% growth rate, and it maintains our tax rate at the same level. We don't generally collect 100% of our taxes. We usually average about 94% collection rate, and this will align with our more conservative budget that we've proposed as well. So that's the basic information. The public hearing was advertised twice in the newspaper before it took place. We also allowed a comment period this year, and there were no comments received. So I wanted to pass that along. But then also to reiterate that persons that own property in the city will receive 2 tax bills, one from the city and one from the county. City invoices will include the Bowling Green Independent School District taxes for those people that live within that specific defined district, which is going back to the 1950s of what the city's actual city limits were. So the city does not set the school tax rate. That is up to the independent school district to do. We just collect it on their behalf. The city taxes will be due December 31st, 2020. That happens to fall on a Thursday this year, and we are closed January 1st, which is a Friday. So there's a built-in 4-day grace period approximately before penalty and interest would be applied. But typically penalty would be applied if those taxes those bills are not received, those payments received by December 31st or postmarked by December 31st. In this case, they'll have until January 4th in order to get that in. We have a drop box outside our office, so if somebody comes by on the weekend, puts their payment in the drop box, then we'll count that as having been received by December 31st. People can also pay online through our website. They can send their payments in by US mail, or they certainly can come here in person and make payment. Persons with mortgage escrow accounts set up, those will be paid through their mortgage companies, but the individual will receive a tax bill, so they'll just need to follow up with their mortgage company to make sure that it did get paid. And tax invoices will be in the same format as they have been the last several years, so an 8.5 by 11 normal size piece of paper with a tear sheet at the bottom for remittance. We estimate mailing out about 23,000 invoices, and we'll probably get back close to 1,000 of those for incorrect mailing addresses. So we encourage individuals to make sure that if you've had a change in your mailing address since January 1st to present, to please contact our office and get that updated, and to also contact the PVA's office to make sure that it's updated permanently in their system. The records we receive are from the PVA's office, so we're utilizing the most up-to-date and current information that they have on file. If a property owner has not received their city tax invoice by, I'm going to say probably middle of November this year, because they're probably going to come out a little bit later than normal due to the coronavirus. They've had to push back some deadlines. Then they need to contact our office, and we can certainly make sure that they get a copy, a duplicate invoice, or at least receive the information so they can make payment on time. Let's see if I have any other information I need to get out there. We expect to have, hopefully, the tax invoices mailed out by mid-October. We try to do early October, but again, this year's timeline might be shifted a little bit, and I'm certain we'll probably get out more information when we get a little bit closer to having those together. But at this time, we're thinking mid-October. Even if you don't receive a property tax invoice, you are still responsible for making payment. The property owner is still responsible. It's their responsibility to make those property tax payments, and they're not relieved of any obligation of penalty and interest. So it's important that people understand that just because you don't get an invoice doesn't mean you don't have to pay it, and there won't be penalty and interest if you don't pay it. You do have to pay it. It has to be paid by December 31st in order to avoid those penalties and interest. Any questions?
Yes, sir. Slim?
Mine is less of a question about this, but a question that I routinely get. And while the city commission sets the property tax rate, the city commission has nothing to do with the assessed value of pieces of property.
That
Can
is
you explain
correct.
that a little bit more, Katie?
I'll do my best. By state law, it's the Property Valuation Administrator's Office that is responsible for setting the assessments. And it's my understanding that they divide up the city. So every 5 years or so, a particular area might be reassessed. And any questions about the assessed value of property goes through the Property Valuation Office. It does not come through the city of Bowling Green. We have no control over those amounts. We simply set the property tax rate, as you mentioned. And we're over, or nearly $5.8 billion in assessed value for all the properties, commercial, residential, everything that's within the city limits. And certainly that assessed value grows based on what the PVA office may assess in a particular area. But it is the PVA's office that does set those assessment values. And let me just also mention that there is a homestead exemption that individuals at 65 years or older may be able to apply, and you apply through the Property Valuation Administrator's Office, and then you have, that's a $39,300 homestead exemption that can be applied to you to reduce your assessment value by that amount. That amount is set by state law through the Kentucky Office of Property Valuation Administration. They determine that amount and they update it every 2 years for inflation. So we're on the second year of the $39,300. It was the same in 2019. It'll be the same for 2020. So 2021 will be adjusted moving forward. But again, the city of Bowling Green has no control over those values. It is set by the Property Valuation Administration.
One more comment on that, Commissioner Nash, is that whenever property sells, the value of it goes up most of the time. So if you buy a house for $100,000 and you turn around and sell it 2 or 3 years later for $120,000, that's a 20% increase in existing property. So that's how the existing property grows, is through reassessments and resales of that property. New property is obvious. That's new construction that was not here last year, and now it's here this year. Just want to make that clear.
I appreciate it, because it's a common question that I get as it relates to taxes when we talk about how the city commission holds the line on taxes, and we even lowered the occupational tax, I don't know, 14 years ago or more now. And people make the statement that, well, you don't have to actually raise the tax rate when you continue to raise the value of people's property on which it's taxed. And I routinely try to explain that that's not under the control of the city commission. Since we were having this item today, I was hopeful that having it here in a public forum and other people speaking to it as well may help people better understand. Thank you.
We're able to keep our rate consistent because of the growth in assessment value.
Anything else? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Ash,
Yes.
Perigin,
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. That was the first reading. The second reading will be at our next meeting for final approval. Municipal Order 2021-39, municipal order approving a job development incentive program agreement with holdings credit agreement with ALPLA Incorporated. Motion by Wilkerson and second by Perigin. Mr. Mizel.
These next 4 items are job development incentive agreements. Commissioner Nash and Commissioner Beasley Brown serve along with me on the Job Development Incentive Committee. We have vetted these projects over the last year. Some of these are from last year that we're just now catching up on and getting approved. But I think all of these are expansion projects that are happening or getting ready to happen, either in the Trans Park or in the South Industrial Park. So this one here is for ALPLA, and it's 60 jobs. They're going to get $368,000 over the next 10 years in a 1% withholdings credit. The city's going to get $313,000 over the next 10 years from ALPLA with our 0.85%.
Are there any comments or questions? I'll call the roll. Beasley
Mayor.
Brown. I'm sorry, Joe, I missed your hand. Go ahead.
Just to add to what has just been presented, some may not remember when the early Transpark talks first started. Well, it was going to be the worst thing in the world, and the world was going to come to an end because the Transpark was going to be built in Bowling Green, north of town. Worst thing. I mean, people started putting on bulletproof vests and everything else because the world was going to come to an end. Been one of the best projects ever in the history of Bowling Green, Warren County, has been the Transpark. Add that to it.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I
Sue?
got one, Bruce. Yeah. Hey, I just want to say this is really exciting to see 4 of our existing companies expand during this, this climate, that's economic development downturn that we're having. And we also have, I serve on the Intermodal Transportation Authority, which oversees the Trans Park and does some work over here in the South Industrial Park. There's currently two manufacturing projects being built out at the Trans Park as we sit here and speak that are going to generate some really good jobs. So just congrats to Bowling Green for continuing to grow through this hard time. It's exciting.
Thank you. Any other comments? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Nash?
Yes.
Perigin?
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. The next is Municipal Order 2020-140, municipal order approving a job development incentive program employee withholdings credit agreement with Bendix Spicer Foundation Break LLC. Motion by Wilkerson, second by Perigin. Mr. Mizel.
Last year, Bendix Spicer announced their expansion, and they're going to bring, or probably have already brought 94 new jobs. And we are giving them a 1% credit for 10 years, which will amount to $432,000 over those years. And the city will net $367,783 over that same term with the 0.85 portion of our occupational tax. Again, another expansion, and I believe over the years, expansions have amounted to about 85% of our growth. So it's very important that we retain these companies and we help them grow and continue to do what they do.
Slim.
And Jeff, if you'll speak a little bit, and I know we're supposed to keep our comments brief, Mayor, so if you'll indulge me for just a minute. But Jeff, if you would speak a little bit about how the company does not receive benefit until they achieve the marker.
Yes, the state requires them to reach a certain threshold on their jobs and have them in play. And so this is an if come, as our former city manager used to say. They don't get any incentive until they perform. So there's no upfront money with this. It's once the jobs are in place and those jobs start earning wages, this is withheld from their wages, and we are allowing them to keep 1% of that withholding to reinvest in their company and use for whatever purposes that are needed to expand.
Thank you. Anything else? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown?
Yes.
Denning?
Yes.
Nash?
He's frozen.
He's
Slim?
frozen.
You used up all your time, Slim. Give him just a second.
Mayor, he requested that we proceed.
Thank you. So we lost Nash, Perigin?
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. Next is Municipal Order 2020-141. Municipal Order approving job development incentive program employee withholdings credit agreement with Holly Performance Products Incorporated. Motion by Wilkerson, second by Nash.
Another expansion here.
Hang on a minute. Hang on. We didn't get to the other. Are you a yes, Slim?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Jeff. I'm sorry.
Oh, sorry about that. Another expansion with Holly Performance Products, 30 new jobs, 1% over 10-year withholding credit, worth $95,000, almost $96,000 to Holly. Will generate about $81,400 to the city over that same time period. Recommending approval.
Any comments or questions? Joe?
Yes, sir. Jeff, what do they do out there now? I'm kind of lost. I know they used to make carburetors, and carburetors went out many years ago, including on my car. What do they do at Holiday now?
I'm not a car guy, but it's a lot of aftermarket, fuel injection, performance enhancing gadgets that you can put on race cars and things of that nature, as far as I know. Mayor, do you want to help out here? Do you know any more?
They still make carburetors too, Joe.
Well, they do. For the big racing cars, right?
Well, they still do some aftermarket stuff for older vehicles too.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jeff.
Anything else? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Denning,
Yes.
Nash,
Yes.
Perigin,
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. Next is Municipal Order 2020-142, Municipal Order approving a job development incentive program employee withholdings credit agreement with CGS Machine and Tool Incorporated. Motion by Wilkerson, second by Perigin. Mr. Mizel.
CGS is another success story up in the Trans Park. You see them on the left as you come off the interstate, off the connection. Another 1% credit agreement for 10 years. CGS is going to get $248,000 in credit, withholding credit over that period. And the city, with our 0.85, is going to net $211,000. Recommend approval for this one as well.
Thank you. Are there any comments or questions? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Denning, Nash,
Yes.
Perigin,
Yes.
and is yes. Next is the second reading of ordinance BG 2020-23, ordinance amending Code of Ordinances, ordinance repealing existing Chapter 18, and adopting revised version of the City of Bowling Green Code of Ordinances, Chapter 18, occupational license fees and taxes to make various changes. Motion by Wilkerson and second by Perigin. This is a second reading of some cleanup language that Katie presented to us last time. Are there any further comments or questions? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Denning, Nash,
Yes.
Perigin,
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. It was a second and final reading. It becomes effective when published on Friday. Next is ordinance BG 2020-24, second reading of ordinance annexing property by consent. Ordinance annexing a total of approximately 0.96 acres of property located at 5844 Scottsville Road with property presently owned by CSR BG Investments LLC, with said territory being contiguous to existing city limits, and further approving an associated economic development annexation incentive agreement. Motion by Wilkerson, second by Perigin. This is a second reading of the voluntary annexation out on Scottsville Road. Are there any further comments or questions? I'll call the roll. Beasley Brown,
Yes.
Denning, Nash,
Yes.
Perigin,
Yes.
Wilkerson is yes. No one has signed up to make public comments for tonight's meeting. So our next scheduled meeting is Tuesday, September 15th, 2020. Thank you for tuning in.